Hi, folks. This is Richard Ricky Garcia. And as part of our effort for the Skywriters Making a Difference campaign, I thought it'd be fun to reminisce, record, and share stories from our drum corps days. I'm joined here by our famous lead soprano, Skywriters lead soprano from the early 80s, Mike Lunny. He was a member of the Skywriters from 81, 82, 83. And he is the perfect person to talk about something, a fun, interesting drum corps phenomena called lead soprano-itis. Do the math. I'm pretty sure you can figure out what that means. And one of the things I noticed is that lead soprano-itis is not limited was not limited to the Skywriters. Having marched in other drum corps and befriended many other people, this existed in all drum corps and actually in every levels of marching band. So Mike Lunny is the perfect person to talk about this, as he's now a retired band director and well-respected clinician in the state of Texas. Tell us a little bit about lead soprano-itis, Mike.
Well, it's a situation of which every trumpet player thinks they're the best there is. And so we transfer all that to the soprano section. And we all think we're large and in charge. And we've got to prove to everyone what we do. We're the ones that warm up trying to play the double G's and doing things we know that are incorrect, just to flex, just to flex. And
Yeah.
I'll say within our soprano line, I was not the strongest lead soprano. I was probably, if anything, the middle of the pack or the lower of the lead sopranos. Because there were some guys in there that were just hosses that could play, screamers, and we all had our own characteristics, whether it was some were more technical in nature, some were more musical in nature with tone quality and phrasing, some were just out and out just screamers, like Maynard Ferguson type players. And so I think we had the best mix of all that together. But in order for that all to mix together, we all had to flex. We all had to establish the pecking order. And I believe that happens in every section and every marching band that's trumpets. And I talked to you one time before about in every brass horn line, I don't care if it's drum corps or marching band, the trumpets are the egotistical firstborn, narcissistic firstborn sons. Okay. The mellophones are always like the baby child, the
Yeah.
youngest daughter. The youngest daughter. They're beautiful and they need to be cared for. And the baritones are the middle child. They're the middle child because they're the ones that solve all the problems.
Yeah.
And the contras, it's like when I took Phil Clements up there, his mother made me promise to watch him. And I think we got up there and I didn't see him for 3 months because I call them silverback gorillas as the contras take their herd and they just run their herd for the rest of the time. But for me, I think it's just it almost has to exist for trumpet players, in this case sopranos, to be good and to work together. If they didn't flex against each other, iron sharpens iron, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. I think it makes us all better if we were all kind of librarians by nature. I don't think we would have near that much input because it's a high velocity sport. We're like
Yeah.
the jet fighter pilots of the horn line in our own
Yeah.
line. I don't know if we are or not, but we think we are. We think we're Top Gun.
Yeah.
We've got to prove to everybody of who we
Oh, we
are.
noticed. We noticed.
Yeah, and to the point of being obnoxious. And for me personally, it's not really my personality. I'm a middle child. I've got a younger sister. I've got an older brother who's passed away now. But I was the one in the back seat always trying to see if we could all get along. That's what middle children do.
Yeah.
And so I really feel like my strongest input in the Skywriters in the soprano section was more helping, and with conversations with John, by the way, helping to control and manipulate egos to work together better.
Wow.
Think about that for a second. So I was like the soprano liaison, where I talked to Kevin Hopkins when he was having trouble getting the high G in the solo. And there was something about his playing that he had this sizzle to his sound. And so I'd say, hey, man, that's really badass. I could have easily gone, can't you play that G? What's wrong, man? But it ended up with Mark Anderson playing the G and they worked together as a team and John figured out a solution. But
Yeah.
my whole job was to make sure to lead in a way that I could get everyone's best talents forward and get them to work together, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect
I would,
sense. And it's a
I
very
would
important
flex that
role.
back out and I earned those skills or learned them from my dad, who was a B-1, B-52 ammunitions loads bombers in Vietnam.
Jeez.
And so he told me, and it's kind of a long story. I have to edit to pull things out. But when I came back in '81, I had troubles. because I was exhausted. I was financially broke. I was getting ready to go to college. I couldn't even sleep the whole night in my bed. I would sleep for
Wow.
2 hours and wake up and I'd lay down on the floor with a quilt and I would sleep. And my dad asked me, he goes, he just pulled me up one time and he goes, "Hey, do you want to march again next year?" And I go, "No, I'm kind of done with it." So there was a lot of good things, but that's just way too much. And he goes, "No," he said, "I think you need to march again." And so he made two promises. One was he said, "I'll pay all your cost and tuition." Number two is every Sunday afternoon, we're going to meet at this kitchen table and I'm going to teach you how to be a leader like I was a leader of my squadron. And he did. And he said, "This
He
is
did.
what you do. This is what you do. This is what you do. This is what you do. In your own tiny part of the world, you be the leader. You don't have to be in charge of anything. Be the leader." And he
And
really impressed that upon me.
and I can prove that it worked because when I knew I was 14, 15 years old, and the person I looked up to most was you. And the reason was when you were with the lead sopranos, you were flexing, as you said, with all
Yeah.
the social jostling that had to go on so that you could survive that social group. But when I talked to you personally, that ego was turned off and you were just, some cool guy. And I can't say that everybody had that capability, but you did, and that's why I actually looked up to you the most.
That
So
means a lot.
well
That means a
done, well done. Thanks for talking to me about lead soprano-itis.
lot. You bet.